What you trying to do for real? For real.
Cosmic, psychedelic funk is what I came to do.
What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, Takara Nicole, aka the Identity Architect, and you're here for another episode of What's the Real Deal with Takara Nicole. So if you're just flipping the channels and you just randomly landed on me, don't move. Just stay right there, chill, go get you a glass of water or whatever your beverage is, and tune in for about 30 minutes or so. So this show is one that really talks about the real deal as I interview amazing people, or maybe I'm sharing with you guys a message that God has given me and I'm just dropping it to share it with all of you so you guys can truly be impacted by whatever I'm sharing. So today I have an amazing guest. Some of y'all may actually know who she is. If you actually watch the news, which I don't, that's my personal preference. But those of you who watch the news here in Omaha, y'all might know who my guest is. So are y'all ready? Because I'm so excited. I get to interview the one and the only Taylor Johnson. What's up, Taylor?
So excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. So, if you guys don't know who Taylor is, you can see her on the news, and I'm going to let her share all about who she is, and then I'll ask my burning question afterwards. So tell the people a little bit about who you are.
All right. Well, as you mentioned, my name is Taylor Johnson, and I am the weekend evening anchor at WOWT 6 News. And it's okay if you don't watch the news. A lot of people don't these days. So you can follow me on social media, News Lady Tay. You can also follow me on Facebook at Taylor Johnson WOWT. I've been in Omaha for about 8 months now, originally from the DC area, but I've moved a few times to climb the ladder, things of that nature. But I'm really excited to be here and so excited to talk with you.
Man, so if you guys don't follow her, you need to follow her. She covers some cool things, and I especially love anytime that she can talk about Kansas City, because it's so fun when she talks about Kansas City football, and particularly because I know it's like a rivalry because like she lives here in Omaha, you know? So let's dig in. So as an anchor, as a reporter, where did you get that aha moment that this is something that you really wanted to put a little more effort into?
Well, for me, it was a childhood dream. I always knew that I wanted to be on the news. It actually started with the weather. You know, you watch the news, you see the weatherman, you're like, oh, that looks so cool, you know, with the green screen and all that stuff. So I knew I wanted to be on television, and we had a home movie camera. And so like my great grandmother, she would be doing home movies, and I would always try to get in the front, just being a little extra. But it was when I got to middle school that I had my opportunity to give it a shot. And so what I did was the morning announcements. So we would sit in the library, and it would be something like this where it's a camera, and then we would just read off the newspaper, read the lunch menu, read the weather forecast for the day. And that was my first shot with that. In high school, I did the newspaper. In college, I studied journalism at the University of Maryland, College Park. Go Terps. Sorry, Huskers, but I'm a Terps fan. And then from there, it just took off.
It's really interesting because a lot of times where we think that when we start doing something, I'll say that, we forget where it came from. And I know for me, I'm a writer, author, and as I really started diving into writing books, I was like, where did this come from? And it comes from our childhood. A lot of our things that we do now, you know, really are rooted within our childhood, and it's really important to cultivate those gifts. And it's really important to remember the story behind how we got started. So one thing that people might not know, I know I wasn't aware of this until I started having conversations with you. What's the difference between an anchor and a reporter?
Okay. So an anchor is basically the face of the station. When you turn on the news, you see the anchor, and they're basically there to guide you through the entire newscast. So they're helping you transition from each segment. They're also delivering the news to you. But then reporters are the ones that are out in the field. They're getting the stories, and you see them for a little bit. You don't really see them throughout as you would an anchor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anchors are basically like the face of the station.
That's really important information to know. I mean, I know I had no clue. And we just say, oh, reporter. And, you know, sorry for downplaying anybody who I might have disrespected by just calling them and not knowing that there's a difference between being an anchor and a reporter. And so it's really good that we understand, you know, someone like Taylor and what she does, because there might be somebody out here who's watching this and would love to have that opportunity to, you know, be on the news or, you know, just to share their story. So one of the things that I love about What's the Real Deal, What's a Car, Nicole, I keep it 100% real, but I want it to be a show where people can learn and grow. And so one of the things that I would love to hear you share with everyone who's watching this is, you know, what was that oomph that said, you know what, no matter what anybody thinks or says, I am going to pursue my dreams and become a reporter and an anchor, because a lot of times people want us to become what they want us to become. And so how did you really say, you know what, no matter what, this is what I really want to do? You know, that mindset and that determination, like, so when was that like turning point or that aha moment where you're like, I'm giving it my all?
Mm-hmm. I would have to say it was around 2017. I was still living at home. I graduated from college in 15.
Okay.
And when I was leaving college, I actually didn't think that I wanted to do news traditionally, because like social media was blowing up, and I was really getting into the idea of like blogging and being like a social media manager, because I was very passionate about that.
Yeah.
But I was working in communications at the time, downtown DC, you know, doing the whole like corporate thing. You know, I'm riding the metro, I'm getting my Starbucks, I'm wearing my heels, you know, very like New York City like, you know. And after like a year and a half, I was like, I actually don't like this. Like, news is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And the scary part about it is when you want to get started in news, a lot of the times, especially if you come from a big city like me, DC is a top 10 market. So all news markets are ranked in order of population. So the higher the market number, the bigger it is. And so in a city like DC, you're not breaking into that as someone who doesn't have any experience, you know. So in order to get the experience, you got to move to the smaller towns. And so I never anticipated that I would move away from home, let alone a small town in Virginia, you know, and that was something that I had to do. But in the process, I was very nervous about it because it would be me living on my own.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, my family, especially my grandmother, she wasn't too crazy about the idea, you know, because we were always together and everything. And I'm like, okay, do I really want to make this sacrifice? Do I really want to make this shift?
Yeah.
But I knew it was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I also prayed about it as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, God, He did His thing as far as showing me that this was something that He wanted me to do, that He was okay with me doing. And He, you know, made a way for me to do it. And I think with things falling into place the way that they did for me to make that transition, gave me the confirmation that, okay, let's go, let's do this. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. You said so many things. And I know for me, when I think about where I'm at now and where I'm going, people fall off. There's just some people who don't believe in our dreams and our goals like we do. And that's okay. And to say, you know, your grandma was like, girl, I don't know if that's what you should do. And valuing her wisdom and her love and appreciation for you, you still said, no, I'm going to pursue this. Mm-hmm. And that's major, because a lot of times when we have people that are so close to us and they say that they don't support something, we internally be like, well, maybe that's not what I should be doing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's something else for me to do. So for those of you who are watching this show and there's something that keeps pulling your attention, press the gas button, the gas pedal, and just keep it moving anyways.
I do have a point with that too.
Yeah.
To jump off with that. So, you know, my grandmother was anti in the beginning, but when you believe in yourself enough,
yes,
people are going to get with the program.
They sure will.
And it got to the point where she was the one researching, like, what is this town about? Where can you live? Things like that.
Yep.
And I've been away from home now for about 7 years, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's like at this point, with each phase, you know, they become more and more okay because they
Oh my God,
understand what it takes for me to get where I need to go. Like
Yes.
this is part of it.
Yes.
You know, so even though in the beginning things were a little shaky, when you believe in yourself enough,
Right.
when you have that determination, they'll come around.
And that's so good. So hopefully you guys are listening to what we're saying because it is so true. I've seen family members of mine that really didn't believe in me pursuing some of the things that I pursued, and now they're like, oh, so how's this going? And my grandma is probably one of my biggest supporters, my mom too, my dad. But my grandma actually, every book that I write, she sits and reads and she tells me what she thinks. And one day she had somebody, I think it was like the ADT guy, rearranging her alarm in her house. And she went on to tell him everything that I did, and he was just so impressed. And I was impressed that she actually understood what I did, because there was a time and a season, especially the older generation, where they feel like you should be doing this, this, and this.
Get a government job,
Yes.
get the good government job, work all the way up to
Yes.
the top of the ladder so you can get your
Yes.
pension.
Yes.
But we also have very untraditional career paths.
Oh my
you
God,
know?
yeah.
It's not like my sister, she was asking me recently, she's in her early 20s, she was like, when are you coming back home? And I'm like, you know, it's just not, it's not
That's
that
not
easy.
it.
You know, I can't just apply, have an interview, and that's it. There's so much that goes into
That's so good.
getting a spot in news in
Yeah.
a big city like DC or, you know, any of the other larger cities that I'm interested in, you know. So it does mean a lot when family and your friends and your supporters understand, like you said,
Oh my
understand,
God.
especially when what you're doing is just like so wacky to people. Like people tell me all the time, like, you are so brave
Yeah.
for moving away. And to me, I'm like, well, you know, I just had to do it.
It is what it is, right?
You know, it's
Yeah.
weird to me that it's weird to other people.
Yes. Oh my God. That there. I had to. I'm like, what? This isn't normal. You know? Huh? You know, having my own businesses. That's not normal.
Right.
You know.
It's
and
not.
yeah, and we live in such a day and age now where entrepreneurship is easily at our disposal on so many levels. Whether it's Uber, Lyft, Instacart. You know, working from home. There's just so many ways to make a career for yourself, but full-time entrepreneurship or any even part-time entrepreneurship, whenever you use the word entrepreneurship, please know that there's a challenge, there's some things that you're gonna have to go through, but it goes back to the core of what you said, like, how much do you really believe in yourself? How much do you trust in yourself? Because at the end of the day, especially when you're going to college and things of that nature, no one's paying back your student loans. No one's helping you put gas in your car. No one's helping you put food in your refrigerator. No one's with you when you're doing those late nights, you know, studying to become that person that you desire to be. So I always say, live on purpose for purpose, because it's so refreshing when you can really live the life that you desire to live. Yeah.
And it's very challenging. I mean, honestly, I almost didn't make it here. I almost quit. My career because my experience in the last city that I worked in, it was not good. And it's
Right.
like, of course, I have confidence in my skills. I have vision for my future. But like we were saying, there are people who support. There are some people who don't. And they're the ones that are making the decisions.
Yes.
Right? It's the decision makers. So when it's the decision makers that don't believe in your talent,
Woo!
that they don't see your value, it can be very hard.
Yeah.
So around this time last year, I mean, it was really rough for me. I had to go see a doctor because I was experiencing anxiety. You know, I was on the verge of just like feelings of depression. Like I just wanted out because it felt like I wasn't gonna be making any progress. And you question and you wonder, what is it? Like, what am I lacking? What don't I have? What, you know? So I went through that spell, but thankfully, you know, by God's grace, having that determination and believing in myself, because this is a super long story, so I'm gonna try to keep it in clip notes.
Yeah.
You know, I put myself out there.
Yes.
And by doing that, my boss, his last day was yesterday, but my boss here, he saw my stuff. He believed in my talent. He brought me here, and I'm just in a much better position than I was in Kansas City. And I will say that sometimes the big city is not always the best place.
Right, right.
You know?
It's, there's so many nuggets in what you just said. Oh my gosh. So what I love about your story is that, first of all, you're not ashamed to tell the parts of the story that might not sound the most glamorous or might gain the most attention. And when you say that you went through these trials and tribulations and you're like, okay, I don't know how much more of this I can take. I know instantly what I thought of was God won't put more on you than you can bear. Mm-hmm. And so, when you have a vision for your life and obstacles come your way, for someone out there that's watching this show, keep pressing, keep moving. If you stop, pause, regroup, but keep moving, because what I'm steady learning at the beautiful young age of 41, I'm learning that there's people always around us that need what we have.
Right.
And they might not like or love on a social media post or leave you a comment or, even inbox you, but they're watching.
Right.
And we're helping. Even though times are so trying and we're like, listen, do you know how many times I wanted to throw in the towel of entrepreneurship just because it's way different than going to a 9-to-5. Mm-hmm. You're creating a lane. When you go to a 9-to-5, they're like, here, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. You're creating that as a full-time entrepreneur. So I get what it looks like to give up. What would you say to somebody that's out here and they're watching this show and they just heard that part of your story where you talked about depression, you talked about anxiety, but yet you're here? What would you say to them?
I would say to them, just piggybacking off of what you just said, that there's someone out there that needs what you have.
Yes.
And I wholeheartedly believe that those trials and tribulations, especially when you start to question your abilities and question your identity and things like that, those are attacks to try to keep you from doing that.
Yeah.
We live in a fallen world, and of course, people like us who want to encourage other people, who want to serve other people, who want to use our creativity to, make the world better. Of course, people are going to try to come for you. And a lot of the times, and I feel like in my experience in Kansas City, that it was a spiritual thing. So if you are someone who is a person of faith, definitely keep tapping into that. I can't tell you how many times I've just had to say, like, Lord help, Jesus help, Lord help, Lord help, all day, because it was getting tough. But you just have to stand on your faith, continue to stand on what you know for a fact about yourself, and just keep going.
I love that.
You have to keep going.
Man, that's so good. And we live in such a day and age now where people think that things are just going to come to them so easy, where they can just like microwave popcorn, throw it in there, and then boom, it's there.
I'm still working on that personally. I really am.
It's something where God has me in this place of understanding process, and he has me in this place of understanding timing. Mm-hmm. And I tell my clients that I work with, helping them to publish books, they're like, I want to have my book done by da-da-da-da. It's like, okay, well, there's a process that you're getting ready to go through. So I don't know if that's going to be it. And I say that because God's the master of time. He knows what he's doing. We have no clue. But as long as we continue to press on like you did in your situation, and look where you are now.
And I'm grateful all the time, every day. And I was on Instagram, and my friend had posted a reel of Jalen Hurts, the quarterback of the Eagles. They played in the Super Bowl against Kansas City. And he had mentioned the scripture, and this is very paraphrased, but basically like something along the lines of, you don't understand what's going on right now, but later you will. Or you don't understand what I'm doing right now, but later you will. Something like that. Please forgive me. But no. And I was thinking about that as I was driving here today. I'm like, all those things that I went through are starting to make sense now that things are starting to unfold today.
Yes.
And that's where you just have to have that trust again in the process. And Trust the process is very overused.
It really is.
Oh
my God.
But it's real though.
You'd be like, shut up.
How many times do you want me to do that?
Right.
But it's a real thing.
It's a very, very real thing. It's a daily thing. What I love about you, Taylor, is that you can really help those that want to pursue what you're doing because of the trial and the tribulation and your vulnerable spirit to actually share with people. I think a lot of times, especially now and nowadays, we see somebody, doing their thing, and we automatically assume that they got it all together because they're doing their thing, and it's like, no, there's a story behind the woman, the man that you're seeing. And so it's really important that we develop our own stories and, not glean so much on someone else that we're seeing doing it, but look at them as an inspiration and utilize the tools that we have in our own tool belt to be able to do what we were created to do. And that's what's important, because we are needed. There's people who need our gifts, and we hear it so much to where sometimes either A, we don't believe it, or B, we're overwhelmed by hearing that, so we just don't do anything. Yeah. So where would you say that you desire to be in your career, like in the next 10 years? What does that look like?
There's so many possibilities, I have to say, especially in the media business. There's just so many ways that it can go.
Yeah.
I have 3 potential dream situations.
I love it.
So I would either want to be do the Today Show or Good Morning America, where it's a good balance where I can still do the hard news of the day, the breaking news of the day, and then later on do something like this where I'm sitting down and I'm interviewing somebody,
Yeah, what up?
Doing a little cooking segment, keeping it cute.
Keeping it cute, yeah.
Because what's important to me is being able to show people who I am, utilize my personality. And sometimes when you're doing the hard stuff, you can't necessarily let that break through if you're talking about traumatic events and things like that. So that's one.
Yeah.
Number 2, so one thing that I shared with you before we started this morning, that I am a huge fan of Bravo, the Bravo Network, the Real Housewives franchise, all the cities. I've watched them. I've been watching reality TV since the early 2000s, since I was 7 or 8 years old. So I'm just very passionate about that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind doing something related to that, creating content based on that, interviewing them.
Yeah.
Or having my own show where I talk about the shows and interview the cast members and things like that. I would love that.
That's cool.
Or be a morning anchor at a specific station in DC, the Fox 5 station. So they have that same sort of morning show thing where it's it's the hard news in the morning and then it gets lighter as the day goes on. So
I love it.
That's what I want to do.
Vision, you guys, vision.
And I want to travel for work too.
And travel for work.
Yes, I want to be booked. I want people flying me places and make appearances and do keynotes.
Yeah.
There's so much that I want to do.
And that's the cool thing about what you do, is that you can make it all happen because you believe in yourself and you're continuously putting yourself out there. So those of y'all who are tuning in, man, you got some good gems today. There's so much that Taylor is working on, but she didn't get here just overnight. There is work that had to be done. She had to believe in herself, and she understands the power of her story, which I absolutely love, because when you have a story, you have a journey, and you can definitely inspire others by sharing your story, acting it out, people following you. So one of the things that I love asking people on this show is, if you weren't in this position with doing, being an anchor and being a reporter, what would have been your other job that you would have done?
I tell people all the time, I can't see myself doing anything else. The only other thing that I would have to do is be a kept housewife. That's all I could, be a lady of leisure. That's the only other career I see myself having.
I love it. This is it.
It's nothing else.
Man, okay, so I immediately thought about Hezekiah Walker's song, I Am So
My mind is made up.
You're made up. You're
this is it.
This is it.
Like I said, there's different avenues that I can take, But like media, television, like that is my passion.
Man, I can see you doing like docu-series, like interviewing people, and I see it. I'm so excited.
And I love the process of the interview. That's why I love your show.
Thank you.
Genuine, authentic
Yeah.
conversations. I feel like that's how you get to know people.
Absolutely.
You know, it's
Yeah.
not scripted. No. You know, it's not produced.
No.
It's not manufactured.
No.
It's the
real
real
deal. That's why I called it that.
It's the real deal.
It's the real deal. I did not want to have to be like, okay, here's the questions I'm going to ask you. Stick to this. Because I feel like once you start talking and having those organic conversations, it's going to come out. You don't need a script. And, you know, what I believe about the show is that people are catching what we're saying and applying these nuggets in their own life to be able to create the real deal for themselves. You know, so sometimes they just need to be inspired. So tell people where they can follow you before we head out of here.
Okay, so you can follow me on social media at Newslady Tay, and you can also find me on Facebook, Taylor Johnson, WOWT, and Newslady Tay is my Twitter as well. Now, if you are interested in my Housewives content, I got some separate accounts for that. My Twitter is a Zealous Voice for that, and The Zealous Voice on Instagram, and my YouTube channel is called The Housewives News Network. So be sure to subscribe. It's really fun.
She wasn't playing, y'all, when she said that she actually has this passion for the Housewives.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
And what I love about it is that people, like my friends and people that I went to school with, and even people that I don't know that I've been following on Twitter for years, they appreciate my passion for it. So I'm like, good. Like they care about like what I think about the episodes and stuff like that. So I'm like, people are interested in this, so why not do something with it?
Listen, as we're getting ready to head out of here, it's been real, and I'm excited that you guys were able to tap into our world with the one and only Taylor Johnson. Peace. Catch me on the next episode, and we're out.
What you trying to do for real? For real.
Cosmic psychedelic funk is what I came to do. Yep.